Oh, geez. Holy guacamole, we are live. We did it at the Michael Laid It studio because you guys are awesome. Awesome sauce. So I'm going to do my little intro. Hello, True Beauties, and welcome to TRU Beauty Confessions, a safe space to do exactly that, confess our truths, our feelings, and unpack everything that makes us beautiful. This podcast is for those of you who are ready to up your beauty game, do the dirty work, and start digging. I'm your host, Michelle Rosetta. And I am so happy to introduce these two guests. First off, we have Andrea coming in from an undisclosed location in the Toronto woods. And Andrea is a registered homeopath, clinical herbalist, the administrative and admissions director, lecturer, and clinical supervisor at the Canadian College of Homeopathic Medicine, as well as a musician and a past hotel roomie of mine in one of possibly the worst hotels in Peterborough from our clinical herbalist program days. And if I knew you were so cool and did so much stuff. Oh, are we? Yeah, we're still there. We're live. We're good. We're good. Okay. So, and to my, I'm not sure what on camera this is, left or right. I can't do my left or right anyways. So we are happy to introduce Wawa born and bred Jason McRae, currently a supervisor of an undisclosed construction company with a history of working with vulnerable youth as a child and youth worker, as a co-host for today's show, because Jason felt potentially we could use an important male perspective on this episode. And if no one has met someone from Wawa, everyone has now.
Corn-fed or inbred.
This is an Wawa specimen. And I just need to let everyone know, because I know we are a little stressed coming in, and I just need everyone to relax because I came in putting this dress on and we're talking about beauty stuff, and it's ridiculous because what happened was I was cutting it short and I decided to put this on, and I put the zipper up and it can't come down anymore because I can't breathe. So if anything happens to me and I should stop breathing, just undo the zipper. Life will come back in. Yeah. Okay. Everyone feels comfortable now? We're good. I wanted to start. I did a little bit of homework. Actually, Jason, you're probably better with social media and what's trending than I am. But I did a little bit of homework, and I thought this was a nice topic to start things off. So, I looked at two different podcasts, and I'd love to get your take on this from Andrea and Jason. Andrea, can you say hey so I make sure that?
Hey.
Oh, good. I just wanted to hear that sweet voice of yours. So I listened to two different podcasts, and it was in regards to male versus female beauty and kind of where we're at in regards to celebrity and media and in general in our community. I don't know if they transfer. So that's why I thought we could start off our conversation. In one of the podcasts, they were discussing how there was an underwear advertisement. And on the one side was women, different ages, different sizes, and generally different culturally. And then on the other side, they were saying how the same brand had men in underwear, but the men were generally within the same age range and all what they called totally ripped. So they were feeling a little sad in terms of how that made them feel. And also that they felt like maybe it's giving an unrealistic version of what maleness is today, and that it's confusing. The other podcast I listened to was in regards to the double standard between beauty and with men and women in beauty, and that celebrities in general, women get like so much attention if they decide to change their beauty or forego their beauty for a part. Whereas as a male, if they do the same thing, they don't get the same amount of attention, because in general, men are able to have, various degrees of what is attractive physicality, whereas women are in this very structured form of symmetrical face, long hair, slight, and it doesn't seem to vary. So those were the two different examples of what I found, predominantly on the internet. How do you two feel about that? Andrea, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, I definitely think that we've made some headroad in terms of women's beauty for showing more representation. We need to do a lot more. But I agree with those sentiments that we're not seeing the same thing for men. But then it does seem strange that what you're saying in terms of what's going on in Hollywood, that sort of seems like an opposite scenario that's going on there.
Jason?
Well, you look at the only thing I could do is quote a movie Monster. Charlize Theron plays Eileen Wuornos, right? And the transformation between what society thinks is beautiful and what society thinks isn't beautiful is a prime example. I mean, it's all makeup and construction for sure, but Charlize Theron or Eileen Wuornos, right? So they portrayed her as whatever they portrayed her as in the movie.
Well, a monster.
That's right.
Yeah.
But that's not Charlize Theron in everyday public.
What's so interesting with you bringing that up is that that was actually one of the topics that was brought up on the podcast, that they could have chose anyone and someone that maybe was more fitting to that part already without having to do this massive overhaul, right? Why did they have to choose her? But then it ended up being there was so much focus and attention on how they reconstructed her for the part, that's what gained so much notoriety. And in exchange, like on the other hand, men have done the same type of overhauls in terms of their physicality and don't get the same amount of notoriety, which suggests that women still have this massive beauty standard to rise to. But how do you feel, Jason, in regards to the underwear?
Well, it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic for sure. Like Michelle said, they're, abs of steel and, 16 abs each side. So
how many abs?
Look, realistically, let's look at the population of males, right? Unless you're in the gym taking some sort of, growth hormone or whatever to make yourself look physically, attractive. What is attractive?
Does it make you feel bad?
Yes and no. I mean, I look at it both ways, right? They're just doing their job, right? They get in shape for obviously this kind of work. This is what they do. They're a male model. So they need to keep that appearance as as they say, society likes. I would prefer to see, old fat guys, wearing the boxers, wearing the boxers, wearing the briefs with tidy whities, whatever they want to wear. That's more realistic, right? I mean,
that would be an awesome ad. That'd be an awesome ad. You know what? I do think we're going to move on from this, but I do think that there is issues because my son, I swear he has body dysmorphia because everyone's like, oh, you're so thin and you have to be. And he's super cute. And it's already starting, and I've noticed it's not just our women that are being kind of contorted into these structures that maybe are not realistic or true to life. I don't know.
Everyone is, all genders. And, I think, and we all are suffering from ageism, which I think is a real problem.
Oh, that was my question for you, actually. Given that you seem to, since I had met you, gain some new inspiration into your musical career. And I wanted to, because I do have quite a few friends that are women and in the music industry. And ageism, I think, possibly has some type of, I don't know what the limiting factor or the thought of it. Is that true? Do you feel like what inspired you now to start creating again? And do you feel that ageism has either stifled your creative ability or liberated you?
I think so when I was younger, I didn't have the courage to follow through with exploring music. It's always meant a lot to me and always something that I've been involved in, but it's been a very private exploration. And so I actually think that it took me to get to this age to finally realize, wait a minute, if you don't actually make a diligent effort with this, you're going to regret it. And so I had to get to a point where there were, fewer F's given, shall we say.
You can say that on this podcast.
To be able to proceed with that. And I think it has crossed my mind a few times, but I think I also feel really strongly about us just embracing ourselves as who we are. And part of the reason why this exists is because we believe it. And so, let's face it, I look at, some other musicians that are out there, and I think, who would I rather be? I mean, I don't want to look like Madonna when I'm old.
There's still that standard. Like, you look at the Rolling Stones, they look like they might, you don't know if they're going to get off stage or not. But then it's like,
yeah. Well, I would rather be Patti Smith.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but they'll be like,
well, for many reasons, but also she's
Patti Smith. Yes. Yes. Yes to that. Joan Jett. But I think you brought up a really important point, right? Nobody's saying like, look at Mick Jagger, right? But if Madonna or Cher or any of them up there, it's always about, oh, look, she's like 80 years old and looks like she's 40. Not normal. Yeah. Like, it's not normal. Don't know what's going on there. I would suggest that's not okay. And bringing it back around to what we're talking about elevating that beauty vibe, not like staying within this one dimensional view of what the human experience is in regards to body and attractiveness. And I think what you said was, it's true because we believe it to be so. So do you want to expand on that?
I don't know exactly where this all started, but if we were living in a society that had a lot more respect for our elders, then I don't feel like this would be happening. So it's not a beauty thing; it's a respect for the experience that people have in life. I don't know. This could just delve into so many other conversations that.
Well, it's allowing us to move into the seasons of life, right? Without rejecting them.
Yeah. And, in regards to some conversations that you and I have had, this whole idea of aging and going through life, it's become really medicalized. Like, age, you start to develop symptoms that need to be treated and you're a problem.
That's
a really good point. What do you think about that, Jason?
I surround myself with a group of friends that I don't give a fuck what I look like. Don't care how I act. It is what it is, right? And to be quite honest, like Michelle's part of that group.
I'm going to challenge you on that just a little bit.
Yes, go ahead.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Because we were at the Kaministiquia Community Mother's Day supper.
Yes, we were.
And there was some discussion about weight that came up.
With who?
At our table.
Was I involved?
You were involved.
Okay.
And there had been apparently a slight that was brought up in regards to whether you were happy or not happy with your weight. And it was something that, there was some, this is actually, they say that, I was going to ask you this, but generally there's this feeling that men have to hold a lot on their shoulders in regards to allowing things to kind of roll over when it's discussed about their physical selves. Is that true or not?
It depends who I'm with. If I'm with my friends and we're hanging out and they're poking fun, because I'm usually the biggest guy in our group, right? So
that's because you're Wawa born and bred.
That's right. Corn-fed and inbred.
The hockey players are huge from there too.
That's right. So in my circle of friends, I'm the biggest guy, right? So yes, I get poked and prodded and teased, right? Like, but that's okay because it's coming from a place of endearment for me, right? Now, if I'm at work which has happened, right? Holy man, look at the size of that guy, right? It kind of messes with my head a bit. It does one of two things. It either gives me a really, really big ego, like I can snap you like a twig, or it makes me feel really bad about myself, right? Like it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't eat this bag of chips because that's all I have time for. Or I shouldn't eat this chocolate bar because that's all I have time for. I should make a conscious effort to eat a little bit more healthy now. It's, I don't eat fruits and vegetables, obviously. So, right. But that's my choice. That's my choice. And
Yeah.
I choose not to do that. Whereas, because I don't care what I look like when I'm with my friends. It doesn't matter to me. Now, if I go to the mall or something, when I went to the mall, yeah, I kind of care. I dress up a little bit, put on a different shirt, put on different shoes, put on a different pair of pants, clothes have a big thing for me. I'm into hoodies.
What do you do when you get that feeling of, ugh, I didn't feel so good about that? How do you get yourself out of that?
Just don't even think about it. Just let it roll off like everything else, right? There's a huge mental block there where you just shut it down and don't even think about it. But once in a while, when you're by yourself, you're feeling down, you start thinking about the past things that happened to you, people calling you this, people calling you that. So now you gotta dress the part when you go out, social media is a killer. Social media does me no favors. I mean, I go to bed, I scroll TikTok for 2-3 hours, and it's,
What are you seeing on TikTok? Are you on TikTok, Andrea? No. What are you seeing on TikTok?
nothing good.
No.
Nothing good. Nothing good comes from that platform. Today's day and age, right? Everybody back in the old days, because I'm old.
Stop saying you're old because that makes the rest of us old.
But back in the day, you didn't have social media, you didn't have that platform. So if you went up to someone and criticized them in public, one of two things are going to happen. Either somebody's going to break down and cry, or you're going to get a shot in the mouth. Simple, right? There's none of that anymore these days. So there's that sense of false security. And I get sucked in all the time. I get sucked in on hot topics, and probably not a topic for today, but I do get sucked in a lot of things, right? A lot.
Andrea, what do you do? Because you dropped your phone in the toilet before you came on because I rattled your page. Like, I hate this woman. How does she make you do these things? What do you do to move yourself out of that place of,
Well, you know what, the point that Jason just brought up about spending time with people that you love and that you don't have to worry about and that you can around, I think that's really important. And for me, spending time in nature is a huge part of my life. And I have just set such incredible boundaries for myself in terms of what I will do and won't do. And when I start seeing myself going down a path that it does not feel good, and the unfortunate thing is because of our, the way that our bodies work, sometimes it's tempting to fall into those patterns, and we can be there for a while before we kind of identify that we're there. And there is something a little bit addictive about it, I think. So anyway, anytime I catch myself in there, I try to pull out, block myself from engaging with all of the stuff that's going on in social media and just get out into nature, into my garden.
So one of the biggest questions is that we ask all our guests, and I'll start with, who wants to go first? Andrea or Jason?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Last time.
Okay. So one of our biggest questions is there a time that you have compromised self in the name of beauty or physicality? And what did you learn?
I feel like compromise myself all the time when we go out. I dress up in clothes that I normally wouldn't wear. I mean, I'm a jeans and a hoodie kind of guy. FXR, Dirty Hands, Clean Money, stuff like that. Not necessarily brand names, but brand names nonetheless. If I'm going to the farm, for example, right? And then Andrea probably doesn't know that, but the farm's out where Michelle lives, pretty close. So that's how it's the farm. It's my safe place, right? So I can go out there wearing mismatched clothes and holes in them, and balls hanging out, whatever, and nobody cares, right? Nobody's just gonna point fun.
Going to town in Thunder Bay. I got like my toque on and my red plaid jacket, my rubber boots.
Yeah.
We're styling.
But then when we go out, like we go bowling or we'll go to the bar, we'll go, you know what I mean? I always dress up. And when I start dressing up, I do feel better about myself. Like, oh, wow. Like I feel good about myself. I'm going out. People are recognizing me, noticing me, oh, nice shirt. I get that a lot, nice tattoos, whatever, just being friendly, stuff like that. It's compromise. It's compromise for me. Going to a wedding, it's hard for me, right? Or a funeral, because I feel I need to wear a suit, and that's so not me.
Mhm.
I am not, not that I'm not, I don't even know the right word.
You like to do it up sometimes, but on your own terms.
Yes, my own terms, right? If I want to wear a suit to a funeral, then I'll wear one. If I want to wear what people know me in, right? Same about when I was working with kids, right? It's the same thing. People always dress up and they're wearing the nice clothes and the khakis and this and that. And here I come, shorts and sandals. And
yeah, but then you probably have more rapport with them.
yeah,
right?
because I didn't change myself and who I was
to put airs on.
The youth know me as that. They know me as that. So for me to show up to a graduation for them is, you hear the comments. Oh, you think you could have dressed better? Why?
No.
Why? Like,
Andrea, I got to get you in before we go to our break. So, Andrea, is there a time that you've compromised self in the name of beauty? And if so, what did you learn?
All right. Well, I have given this some thought because I knew you were going to ask this. And at first, I wasn't really sure because I have been pretty rebellious since a young person and really rejected a lot of beauty norms. And then I realized that as I really started to go gray, I did for a period of time with the most natural hair dye that I could find, dye my hair. And part of that was, and I think a lot of us go through this, wait a minute, this is happening way too soon, too fast. I'm not ready to be a crone yet. But I think also I looked around at my family, and I am the youngest in my family by far, and I was the only one showing my gray hair. And so that felt weird too. Anyway, it lasted a few weeks, and then finally I was just like, this is BS. I can't do this anymore. And so, part of that, I think too, coming back to our previous conversation, is just embracing ourselves as we are, as we move through life, and that aging is beautiful and, natural part of the process and something we should be proud of because we made it.
Well, it's so true. And actually, one of our sponsors is Evoke Salon. And actually, Jerry helped me move my the gray into the natural in a way that I feel comfortable with. But it was very difficult for me too. That was a big issue that I felt like I was compromising on, and I wasn't happy with it anymore. But I want to get in one more quick question in this section, Andrea, and it's about the squirrels in my head. So I talked about this on the weekend, and this goes into the anxiety and the moving out of that place, because I will hyper focus. As everybody knows, I'm in a battle with Hydra One networking in the Waskin transmission line at this point in time. And what happens is I bite in and I can't let go, right? And I realize it's not an ego thing, it's anything. It's a squirrel in my head that's on this little wheel, and it will not come off. And then I thought on the weekend, I told Jason and Jen, I'm like, I think the squirrel came off. It's the wheel, and the squirrel's done. I said, guys, I think the squirrel might be done. But no, Monday came along and jumped right back on that wheel. And this is an ongoing issue that I have. And, when people talk about when some of the things I do, it's not really me. It's just the squirrels got into the attic and I can't, they just have a heyday up there. So from your homeopathic, first homeopathy, if you could just explain that in a very succinct way. And then are there some protocols for me to control this squirrel and the hyperfixation? Because it's circular thinking, right?
So I just want to say that just going back to your previous thing, that I loved it when I saw your gray coming in, and you look absolutely fabulous.
Oh, thank you. It was not easy for me, but then I thought, no, I will embrace the crone.
And in terms of what you're talking about with the squirrels, we all have them. And I actually think, part of what we were talking about earlier in terms of there's a bit of an addictive quality to the squirrels, whether or not squirrels about high stress, whether squirrels about grief, or how we feel about ourselves, or even the squirrels about falling in love and wonderful feelings, right? It's all kind of an exalted state of being, and our bodies love that place because it's exciting, and so it can be really easy to fall into those patterns. And human existence, especially now, because there's just so many of us, and we're just constantly bombarded with so much that it just feel like we're surrounded by triggers for all of that. So I definitely feel I do recommend nature walks and meditation to so many of my clients, and those are things that I do for myself regularly as well. Like, I need to cut myself off from humans and human concerns to get back to who I am. And I find that is really helpful for a lot of people. And then, you already know, some of the herbal things that we might do for that.
Well, no, I'm asked. Yeah, you're the expert here. I'm asking
Well,
you.
like I love herbal teas, and overall they tend to be really safe for the average person. So, because everybody's different, everybody's going through something a little bit different. And as you know, it's best for things to be chosen for the individual and have a more holistic approach. Whereas I feel like, having herbal teas that you're preparing for yourself, even going a step further. And
What are some of your favorites? Some of your favorite go-tos?
So the ones that come to mind would be things like skullcap. Actually, I made a tea for myself today before coming on, because I get nervous about this sort of thing. And so in my tea today, I have oat straw and skullcap, and what else did I put in there? I can't remember what else I put in there, but also lemon balm is wonderful, and that one smells so good too. Chamomile, passion flower. And
those goes right into the nervous system, right? Like, they actually go into the nervous system for whole body calm.
Absolutely. And the other thing that would be wonderful to blend with that would be tissue salts, which I love so much. And
can you just explain the tissue salts super quick? Because you gave me those when I was in bed and my brain fell out of my head, and I was hoping you'd bring it up, but I wasn't sure if I'd remember. Great.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then do you also want me to explain homeopathy? They are sort of, aligned. So, do you want me to do both?
Well, the homeopathy, just like so people understand, like the little pill form, and then maybe just talk a little bit about the tissue salts and how they work. And then, yeah.
So homeopathy, okay, I'll try to do this as quickly as possible. So essentially it was discovered by a doctor just over 200 years ago. And he was really he recognized that he wasn't healing his patients. He felt that what he was doing with medication was suppressing symptoms and creating more complicated cases of disease that were harder to treat. And his frustration with his practice actually led him to stop practicing medicine. And he started translating medical texts. And through the process of translating medical texts, he stumbled upon the idea that substances that exist, any substances that are taken by a healthy individual over a period of time will eventually elicit symptoms. Some substances, like toxic chemicals, for example, will elicit symptoms very quickly and kill you. Whereas other things, they would be, more mild and come on more slowly. But the idea is that the body is always asking for help, what it's going through. And the way that the body communicates is through its signs and symptoms. And, unfortunately, we are taught to sort of see signs and symptoms as bad and try to erase them. But what we really need to be doing is recognizing that signs and symptoms are the body's language, and it's the only way that it has to communicate with us. And therefore, we need to listen to those signs and symptoms and then provide the body with what it is that it's asking for help with. And so a homeopathic remedy would be given to someone who has those signs and symptoms that look like the substance that can create those same signs and symptoms.
Jason has some signs and symptoms right now.
I'm just coughing. I'm just coughing because I'm nervous. That's all.
For you, Michelle, we would be looking for a remedy that creates squirrels in the brain.
Oh, so I need more squirrels to reduce the squirrels.
And for Jason, we would be looking for a remedy that produces coughing upon nervousness.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and the little thing is like, for me, if I was looking for more squirrels, is that like, do you have what that would be within the tablet form, or no, that's something you would create?
So, well, what we would do is we would have a proper consultation so that we can assess what's going on at all levels of your body, because signs and symptoms are always expressing on all levels of the body, even though certain symptoms might be more pronounced, like in your situation in the head right now. And we would, use that information to find a remedy that would fit you as a whole. So it's challenging to kind of just decide in a short period of time what remedy might be needed. But there would certainly be, like a protocol that could be put together both with a remedy and, some herbs and the tissue salts. The tissue salts are sort of considered like an arm of homeopathy, because the person who discovered the biochemic medicine was a homeopath. But it's not exactly homeopathy per se. It's more like a cross between maybe homeopathy and a nutritional supplement. The tissue salts are the 12 inorganic minerals that make up all of the tissues in our body, which is why they have that weird name, tissue salts. And basically, if we have a deficiency of any of those within the system, then the body will throw out signs and symptoms to show us what it's deficient in. And so, for someone like yourself, I might recommend, as I said, Heliphos and Magphos tissue salts, because those ones in particular are important for building a robust nervous system. And it sounds like your nervous system has been really overtaxed with the stress of what you're going through.
Shot. Jason, have you tried anything with homeopathy before?
Nope. I
No?
use a lot of, I get stressed. I smoke more. I smoke a ton when I get stressed.
I think maybe Jason, maybe we'll take our crew over and get some tissue salts.
Maybe. I'm up for anything. I'm up for new things, Yeah.
Okay. So I want to, I do need to, at this point in time, talk about a sponsor, but they're anonymous. So basically they said, we're going to give you some money because you might be entertaining, but we don't want our name involved. So thank you to that sponsor.
Yes.
Who gave me. And if anyone else would like to join that and have your name, please contact us. So we have to move on to, it's time for Guess That Chemical. And I know, Andrea, you were because you are type A, like I need to get the answers right. You don't need to get these answers right. This is nothing to stress about. I promise. Okay. So we take ingredients from personal care products of our guests and put them into a podcast game show. We have Andrea Deal, a registered homeopath, clinical herbalist, and clinical supervisor at the Canadian College of Homeopathic Medicine. And Jason, supervisor of an undisclosed construction company. Jason has volunteered a few of his dailies. I will ask the question. And as soon as you know, you guys can say got it or whatever you want to say. Okay.
Well, I feel I shouldn't participate because I already know the answer.
No, you don't.
No, I don't know.
You don't.
Okay.
Okay. Ready? Okay. The ingredient of question is often treated with ethylene oxide or ethyl elated. It is that, okay, it can be contaminated with 1,4-dioxane and potentially dangerous toxic ingredient. In fact, 1,4-dioxane in cosmetics is known as an animal carcinogen that penetrates readily into the skin. This ingredient is also linked with skin allergies. They are so much of a concern about this contaminant that a class action lawsuit was filed in New Jersey against manufacturers of children's bath and personal care products. Defendants manufactured, distributed, marketed, or sold products containing formaldehyde and 1,4-dioxane. So in addition, it can be in drinking water, and that our products go into the drinking water. And it is an ongoing impurity. It is also found in laundry detergent, dishwashing soap, and household cleaners. So this ingredient was found in your products that you brought for me to look at and put into the show. So is it A, PEG 7 glycerol cocoate, B, cocamide MEA, or C, get out of here.
I'm not looking.
I'm playing cards with you again. Sodium lauryl sulfate. Is it A, B, or C?
Sodium lauryl sulfate.
Ding, 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 ding. Andrea, you are right. And the whole point is it's not necessarily even the sodium lauryl sulfate. It's because it is contaminated, right? With its ethylene oxide and 1,4-dioxane. So Health Canada says sodium lauryl sulfate is okay, but they don't actually talk about the fact that it's contaminated with the chemicals that are on the hot list. So something. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah, I do. I actually found the question to be a little bit confusing because you kept mentioning the other chemicals. I was like, wait a minute, I thought we were supposed to guess what the chemicals are.
So that sodium lauryl sulfate has those chemicals. It's made. So yeah, I didn't say it right, but this ingredient is made with.
This is
rigged.
Contaminated
by.
This is rigged.
Yeah. Well,
I'm going against a doctor and I'm okay.
I am not a doctor.
I apologize.
This is so number 2, and I'll try to say it more clear. This ingredient is a copolymer with acrylamide. So the ingredient is a copolymer. So it is with the contaminant I'm going to discuss. Acrylamide is a chemical used primarily to make substances called polyacrylamide and acrylamide copolymers. Good Lord. They're used in the production of paper, dyes, plastic, and the treatment of drinking water and wastewater, including sewage. They are also found in consumer products such as caulking, food packaging, and some adhesives. Studies in rodent models have found that acrylamide exposure increases the risk for several types of cancer. It's converted into a glycine, it causes mutations in and damages the DNA. All kinds of things against it.
Things bigger.
Which ingredient is a copolymer with acrylamide from this list of ingredients from Jason's products? Okay. A, polyquaternium 7. B, PEG 7 glycerol cocoate. C, fragrance or perfume. Just take a wild guess.
C.
Meh. Meh. No, everyone. Polyquaternium 7. And polyquaternium was intended to replace silicone, but the ingredient is not free from side effects. It actually does damage your hair because it's very difficult to wash off. But regardless, it is contaminated with acrylamide. And that's all within the production of it. So again, not on your ingredient list, but it is in your ingredient list because it is your ingredients are contaminated with those chemicals. 3, this ingredient is made from ethylene diamide formaldehyde, a known carcinogen according to the National Cancer Institute, and sodium cyanide, which is made from the toxic gas hydrogen cyanide. So again, this ingredient is made from formaldehyde. The ingredient is also a penetration enhancer. That means it breaks down the skin's protective barrier, making it easier for other potentially harmful ingredients in the formula to sink deeper into your tissues and perhaps even into your bloodstream. Again, these are ingredients from Jason's daily products. Is it A, Laurath 4, B, tetrasodium ETDA, or C, methylchloroisothiazolinone. Just so you know, that was on your product packaging. Is it A, B, or C?
Why do I feel I need to be switching products all of a sudden?
B?
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. Tetrasodium EDTA, which was actually found in all of your products you gave me.
You know what? Can I just interject for a second?
Yeah.
Because I feel like Jason's getting a bad rap here.
Exactly.
Yeah, and it's not fair to him because unfortunately these ingredients are in most people's stuff.
Absolutely.
It's really upsetting to me. I mean, there's entire aisles at the drugstore, at the grocery store,
Yes.
full of these chemicals that are so harmful.
Well, and we don't know, right? That's part of like the podcast game show that people don't even realize. They're like, that's in my ingredient list. And the other greenwashing part of it is to say, oh, well, actually, this is potentially not toxic, but yet it's treated or made from something that is seriously on the hot list and not allowed at all. Right. And we don't know. So true for Jason. And the other thing with men, and that's the one thing I want to bring up, like generally guys can use such simple products. They don't need all these chemicals, right? I mean, it's when you're dyeing hair and whatnot, like a natural can be difficult to find, right? But Jason, like you don't have a shampoo issue.
No, I don't.
This Castile soap, like literally you don't have to put this stuff on you,
No,
right? And it'll be more luxurious. Okay, this is the last one. Which of the below personal care products that Jason brought in?
Oh my God.
I had to use yours.
No worries.
Yeah.
No worries. I'm good.
Contains an ingredient that can cause organ system toxicity, allergies, and is a neurotoxic. A, Irish Spring 5-in-1 body wash. B, Dove shampoo and conditioner for men. C, Manscaped cleansing and revitalizing shampoo and conditioner. I threw that one in. Sorry.
All of the above.
It's actually the Dove shampoo and conditioner for men. And
I had
it's
a feeling you were going to say
also-
that because there's a perception that it's more natural.
ding, 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 ding. And so it's also in the Manscaped cleansing and revitalizing shampoo and conditioner, just so you know. And what that one is, it is the methylchloroisothiazolinone, CMIT. And that's a widely used preservative found in liquid cosmetic and personal care products, and it inhibits bacterial growth. And it's also used as a mixture in products, and it causes organ system toxicity. Rats exposed to highly concentrated MIT, over 50%, showed a range of symptoms, including significant body weight gain and death. Very bad for allergies and dermatitis. And then neurotoxicity. In vitro cell studies on MIT showed signs of neurotoxicity when cerebral cortex cells were exposed. Animal studies did not find, so it's through, and then it's through drinking water. So we have a winner.
Oh, well, apparently not. I need to go switch all my products now.
Yeah.
What do I get?
You get something too.
Oh, no.
You get a Stop the Sag tea bag. With some cleavers and primrose, because we know we have to tighten the cells.
My favorite.
I know. I'm going to send that to you. And Jason, we have what is the gift when you don't actually win, but you get one anyway?
Participation award.
You get a Lang Lang. You get a foreplay soap. I kind of thought maybe
That soap is so nice.
Oh, I can't wait to do that. That's going right in the shower. Have to hide that from every other female in my house.
So I do want, we're going to be moving on to our local rant. So I do want to say thank you so much, Andrea, for joining us. And is there anything else, if there's one thing you wanted our listeners to know about life, the galaxy and beyond, what would that be?
Oh, I don't know. You know what? We could all be a lot more gentle and loving with ourselves.
Yeah. Gentle and loving to self.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. So delightful to meet you, Jason. Hopefully one of these days I'll get to meet you in person and see you with your balls out at Michelle's farm.
Not sure that's the site you want to see.
Yeah, we're like a whole different circus up here in Thunder Bay. You got to come visit us.
It's a different world over here, I'm sure.
Definitely. Well, you know, I have been in Thunder Bay.
Oh,
Yeah, I went tree planting up there.
Oh my gosh.
have to bring her up in the winter.
That's a whole other story. That's a whole other story. We
Story for another day.
Andrea, I appreciate you. I honor you. And I thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I also appreciate and honor and love you and really appreciate all the work that you're doing on so many levels.
We'll talk to you soon, and we'll put all your information for others to get a hold of you in the description area. Okay.
Bye.
Bye. So, no, don't end. Are we still live?
Yeah.
Oh, hey, we're still live. God, now we got like some bigger camera now.
I know.
Jesus,
I
I
know,
don't
I know,
know.
I know,
This
I know.
is look at it. Looks like I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep because the squirrels didn't sleep last night. They wouldn't go to bed. So our local rant, and I don't know. It's just something. It's a local rant.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
So, and this does go on to, in terms of all these different chemicals we just read, right? And big pharma versus community almost, right? So what happened was I had to pick a loved one up from a dental operation. And anyhow, apparently like the operation went well, but I went in to get her, and I'll move into why I'm upset about this. But anyways, I went in to get her and she was so out of it. I have picked people up from other dental ops and they were not out of it. It was uncomfortable. Okay. And I asked the nurse, and everyone was very nice, as in, about whether, people were formidable or not. But the point is, I said, what is this person on? And it was kind of not necessarily disclosed immediately, but she could tell from me knowing that this is not okay, that I was going to find out. And she said, oh, well, it's just, a little bit of fentanyl and another part of a painkiller concoction. And she saw my mouth drop, like it just dropped. Mm-hmm. And I think people, in Thunder Bay know that we have an issue. We have an issue. One, and in full disclosure, I'm very upset about this. They just pulled a very wonderful man out of a house over overdose, and a good person. And I've been thinking about it for the last month. I'm like, how do these things, like, how is this happening in this community? Addictions is a subject that. But meanwhile, I go in to pick up this young person who they did not ask whether, they didn't disclose to her that they were going to give her fentanyl. They didn't disclose it. Nothing. There's all kinds, since we have been doing these types of dental ops for how many years, and there's so many other types of painkillers that could be used. Why is the doctor giving fentanyl without proper disclosure? And then the nurse says, oh, well, don't worry. It's not like the amount they use on the street. Okay. And the reason that this goes into our conversation is because when we're talking about, oh, did you know sodium lauryl sulfate has, all these different contaminants in it? It's not proper. It's not informed disclosure. No, medical and I mean, I believe it's just my opinion, and I have no basis on research or anything. It's just what I read. There's definitely an epidemic here for sure. And you see it all over social media, people passing away, overdosing. And there's always the same word involved in every one of them. So-and-so OD'd on fentanyl, right? Every OD has the word fentanyl beside it or in the same paragraph. So obviously it's definitely a huge epidemic. And where does it come from? Same thing as back in the day with Percocets. Where did it come from?
right? Where did all this stuff come from when, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, my grandparents were telling me stories that if you were sick, they'd give you heroin. So it just seems to be progression, and the drugs are getting a lot more dangerous, deadly, I guess you can say.
Well, I called the office. I called the office. I'm like, you gave a young person and they don't tell you the side effects. And this is the same thing about products. They don't tell you the side effects. And in fentanyl, most common is chest pain or discomfort, difficult or troubled breathing, irregular, fast or slow, shallow breathing, lightheadedness, dizziness, fainting, pale blue lips, fingernails or skin, severe muscle stiffness, slow or irregular heartbeat, unusual tiredness, blurred vision, change in consciousness, chills, confusion, cough, difficulty swallowing, fast heartbeat, feeling cold, headache, hives, itching, skin rash, inability to move eyes, inability to sit still, tightness in the chest, uncontrolled twisting, unusual facial expressions. And then there goes on: bleeding, blistering, burning, coldness, discoloration of skin, increased sweating, redness of skin, vomiting, welts, blah, 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 blah. Do you think, and it's highly addictive because of its potency. Do you think in that somewhere between doctor and client, they would have said, hey, would you sign off on taking this highly potent, highly addictive painkiller that has all these side effects when we have other ones that we have been using for a long time? Like there seems to be a disconnect there. And I'm wondering, where's the source? Well,
I mean, there's a whole lot of questions going. Is it cheaper to get? Is it cheaper to use? I mean,
are they getting paid to use it?
That's the next thing, right?
It should be outlawed in Northwestern Ontario at this point. It's not given to young people without even disclosure.
There's clearly a problem with it. Like people are dying like crazy, and it's not even about whether they're an addict or this and that. It's just plain and simple. You take it, you die. That's what I'm reading. There's no coming back from it unless you get Narcan, but that's a whole other subject and issue. I mean, it comes from the top, comes from big pharmacy, right? I mean, they obviously make it, manufacture it, synthetic, whatever they do. And then maybe the doctors are getting kickbacks from prescribing this stuff, right? So,
well, I asked the office, I'm like, do you realize we have a problem in this city? Is there any bells go off there that maybe we shouldn't give this young person an undisclosed painkiller that's highly addictive? What do you think we're supposed to do to take power back over our community? Because I don't know, like this just happened to me. So I am so not happy about it.
I wouldn't be happy either. And I mean, for my kids, I'd probably advocate the same thing. Like, I don't want any fentanyl. I don't want this. I mean, if they're in pain, there's other ways to manage it, right? There's back in the day, you got your morphine, you got your whatever.
Well, this was a young adult. So I wasn't, I'm not able to be, I wasn't in that room. I said I'd do the picking up, right?
Maybe informed. I know when I had my accident in my side-by-side, 4 ribs broken and a collapsed lung, they kept giving me, I can't remember what it was. It's in the hospital for 3 days. It wasn't fentanyl. It was something else. It was like a synthetic, but it did work. It did take the pain away. But then you start running through your mind. Am I going to be addicted to this? Am I going to need this? Am I going to need this to survive? Any little boo-boo or scratch, people are running to the doctor. I want this and I want that. Could be for a number of reasons. Who knows, right? It's definitely wrong you should, as a patient, you should be informed of what they're going to give you. Now, if you come in on a stretcher, lifeless, whatever, you don't really have a say in the matter. They're going to do what they can to save you. I guess you flip of a dime or a flip of a quarter, whether you're going to come out, I need this stuff. Do I need this stuff? Do I need this stuff?
Well, I know I'm putting you on the spot, but what do you think? What do you think our next step is as a community? Like, I don't have the answer. I'm sitting here thinking, so I have doctors handing out highly addictive substances to young people without full disclosure, with no informed consent.
Yep. And
that's happening right now when we're in a city that is in crisis. We are in crisis. I've lost a loved one in the last 2 months. Mm-hmm. Like, this is a crisis.
And
I'm just saying, from the child and youth worker standpoint, what do we do? What do we do as a community?
You open up the gates will flood for sure, because now you have harm reduction in the city. You have places where you can go inject, and there's no consequence for it. There's definitely an epidemic. How do we fix it? I mean, I hear it all the time. Well, maybe, the city council and the mayor and the police force should step up and do more. Well, I mean, they have a different aspect where they're targeting where it's coming from, right? So they're trying their best. They're doing what they can. I mean, you got different people coming from different cities to the center of Northern Ontario, right? This is the hub, Thunder Bay. You have the addiction rate is high. You have so many different communities coming to Thunder Bay. You have so many different people coming. I mean, look, last week, for example, there was the big shootout over in Westport, right? Like it's I have no idea. Wouldn't even know where to begin. I mean, that the laws have to be tougher. Number one.
Well, there's no accountability. There is no accountability in whatever we call this Canada corporation. There's no accountability for corporations. None. Zippo.
Nothing. There's
Hydro One to flipping, the big pharma. There is no accountability. They do whatever they want. They harm whoever they want. And I just don't know how we're supposed to take our communities back because, I'm lucky. My loved one doesn't have a problem. But the point is the whole situation is a problem.
That's right.
And she was upset. She was like, I would not have chosen to have felt like that.
Yeah. And you can see it clear as day, right? It definitely something's wrong. Somebody, when they take fentanyl, there's a change for sure. Right? Whether you're extremely high.
It's doctor sourced.
Yep. And
so how do we've got to hold our doctors accountable. I don't know which direction we're going, but this is just me saying, this is my rant.
I would like to see the books on how much a doctor gets a kickback for prescribing this stuff, right? Like there's got to be some accountability. And then it's hard. You're in a society where I don't even know, like that leads into such a bigger subject, right? Like back in the day, you were old school ways, as you say, the old school. It was still there, just not as prominent now because of social media, right? I'm sure back in the day, there was people that OD'd in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Excuse me. Now it's, you read it on Facebook, you read it on Instagram. There's somebody always posting something, or you're more prevalent to what's going on. And it's just a change of times, right? Like
I think we need to take power back over our communities.
I don't disagree.
And I don't know how we need to hold those that are the source accountable.
You can hold them accountable for as long as you want, but when they go to court and they're released back out on $200, $500.
I'm talking about the doctors.
Oh, do you think
I don't even know what the first step with that is? Is there public, we can do a public freedom of information request?
I have no idea.
Well, we're going to have to come back to that.
Yeah, I would think, but once again, it comes down to your privacy. It's your money, right? That nobody can go access my information on how much I make a year unless I tell them.
Well, actually, though, if you're on, well, maybe not doctors, but public servants, you just so everybody's aware, you can find out.
See, that's the stuff that I don't know, right? Like
the fact that I know.
Yeah. But how do you hold a doctor who is prestigious in the community, in the eyes of the community, right? A doctor is way up there, right? So how do you hold that accountable for them doing their job when their patient says, I'm in pain all the time? Well, I can take your pain away, but these are going to be the consequences. So, there's also that aspect of choice.
I'd love to know the kickbacks, because there's a whole other options of choice, especially because, she was quite vocal about feeling concerned about the painkillers. Oh, well, let's just drop some fentanyl then.
Yeah, we did.
Anyhow, moving on from that.
Okay. Before you, I just, once again, my TikTok knowledge is coming in. Didn't Pfizer just lose a lawsuit for something ridiculous like $2.3 billion?
Oh, just added on to it. Added on to their list. Do you know how many times that company has been sued for billions? Like from Africa to the US, that company has been, it's been a very long list of lawsuits.
So what happened? Where's the accountability for that? Right? Like, are they going to have to pay all that money out?
Well, they probably could. They've made billions.
Exactly. Right. So you find them, hurt them in the pocketbook, but then they just turn around and make triple the amount. This
is why I'm saying maybe it's got to come back to community grassroots movement and taking power back over your health and your body and asking for proper informed consent. Just like our fun little, guess that chemical podcast, lots of people do not realize, so just within education, you're taking power back over what goes on and in your body.
I have had no idea. No idea that those chemicals are in the stuff I use.
Yeah.
No idea.
And then it's the self-worth to say, no, thank you. No, merci. Not participating.
Now I got to go buy some Honey Bomb soap because good for me.
So maybe we'll revisit this somewhere down the line.
Yeah.
Is there something that you feel is necessary to communicate to our general community about life, the galaxy, and the great beyond?
It's just my opinion and my thoughts, right? Like that's what we're
here for.
That's right.
We're sharing our opinions and thoughts.
I love to,
even if nobody wants to know them, Jason.
I love to drive around and listen to my music, and I see it. I see it all over the place. I drive down to certain areas of the city. I see people flailing in the middle of the road. I see, the younger generation. I mean, no, this is just my thoughts and opinions. I feel they're maybe a little soft, right? And they get things handed to them. And back in the day when you had to work, sweat, to get what you wanted. I mean, I don't know. There's so much in this world today that it makes my stomach turn. But there's also good in this world, right? I see lots of good things. I see lots of good things on TV. People helping everybody, people helping animals, all the good things that go with it. So are we a lost society? No, I don't think we are. I don't feel that way. I just difference of old school and new school, right? Like there's always going to be that clash, and you can't. And there's so many hot topics in the world today. You could spend 10 hours talking about them and rile people up and get them all mad.
Well, how do you get through your day though? Like what is something that you bring to your day when we know we have the hot topics, we have all these things going on, we have life in general. What's something that you do to make it into the next?
I try to be positive. Like I try to, sometimes in my job, you gotta, how do I say this delicately? I mean, if they're not cutting the mustard, then you got to put them somewhere else. And that's got to be deflating for someone trying to get into, operating a piece of equipment and they're just not getting it right. Like they're being unsafe and they're not following directions. And, you have to find that balance and still treat them with respect and dignity and say, hey, like, maybe we can try something else with you. But for now, I don't feel that you can operate this machinery in a safe, productive manner.
It sounds like being kind, good to your neighbor, treating people with how you want to be treated.
To a point. And then you get the people that want to be standoffish and the hair on their neck wants to stand up and they want to, they want to try and be the alpha male. And like I'm too old. Back in the day, 20 years ago, okay, it's go time. Now it's, I can't be bothered. Like,
I kind of feel like we could change the description of the podcast to like, we gather here to figure out what in the name of the alpha and omega is going on.
Yeah. I mean, I see silly things every day, especially in my line of work. I see things that just make me like, why am I existing right now? There's been many times I just go sit in my truck and roll up the windows and have about 8 smokes and 4 coffees and contemplate how I'm not going to, get out and kick my hard hat somewhere or even the people I work with too, right? Like, I mean, I work with some of the most amazing people and they all bring something different attitudes, different outlooks, different everything. It's fun, right? It's fun to work in that diverse.
So I think what
chaos.
You're saying is keep on rolling around the next turn because there's going to be some fun down the road somewhere. And we got to just
it's hard to explain, Michelle. You know me
walking forward.
You know me outside of this, right? Like we've been to the bar many times.
The Wayland.
The Wayland, yeah. You
now
see
we
me,
can find the Wayland as a sponsor.
you see me like you see how I am out, right? Like I'm myself personally, I'm more of a protector, right? I'm watching over everybody. So if somebody gets into trouble, then it's like, okay, well, sit down and we'll just let this pass. And if it continues and you get your, your hair up and your chest out and start beating it like a big modern day gorilla and
Okay. So
right? But
I
that's,
wrapping it up and bringing it home. I think probably do you feel you got some of your male perspective?
do you feel, that's a question for you. Do you feel like it?
Well, I know what I think. I'm asking you. Everybody gets to hear about what I think.
Beauty is, for me, it's not what's on the outside. There's lots on the inside too. There's attitude, it's personality. If you have similar interests, that you can look past the I don't even know what the word I'd be looking for.
The celebrity structure of slight with long hair, symmetrical face.
Yeah,
relatively under 30 and under.
Like a J-Lo or realistically, that's never going to happen, right? Like that's not.
Well, they can be really annoying too.
And you can find what society says as drop dead, gorgeous, beautiful, no wrinkles, tight, whatever you want to say. But for the most part, it's, if you're got a really shitty attitude and you treat people bad, odds are if I see you getting hurt, I'm probably just going to walk by and laugh. Like that kind of mentality, right? Whereas if you're a generally caring person, I'm not saying you have to be Mother Teresa or anything like that. If you're just generally,
thank God,
a caring person, and you don't want to see ill will on people, then if you're in trouble, I'm probably going to stop and help you. It's just my nature, right? I'm described as a protector through and through, right? I mean, not the biggest guy in the world, but I'm above average size, right? And not saying that I'm the strongest guy in the world either, but
do you feel confused about your maleness?
Sometimes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does that look like?
If I get on let's use the construction site for an example, right? It's the male to female worker ratio is, males are always higher for some reason, right? And I can never figure it out because some of the best operators I've ever seen have been female. They take the time, they want to learn, they pay attention to detail, right? Now you get into a construction site and it's all right. Like it's what it is. But some of my greatest ideas have come from on the construction site, right? Like it's mind boggling how diverse and egotistical driven it is to, holy shit. Like you just said something that made me stop and think about treating people or other than that. And it's mind boggling. Some of the people I work with is, I don't even know how they're still alive, but you know what I mean?
Okay. We have to do one last thought. Don't apologize because Michael is giving me the eye.
Okay.
So let's just say one last thought on the male perspective. If you could sum it up in like one sentence.
Get to know people.
Oh, that's good.
Just get to know people. You can't listen to what other people say about someone because that's their truth and their past and their experience. That's not your experience. That's not who you are or what you think. Somebody tells me what to think. Pretty sure they're getting something.
Get to know.
Yeah,
get to know someone
people.
For yourself.
Get to know
I like
you.
that. That's a good note. That's a good note to end on. Jason, thank
Michelle?
you so. Jason. Thank you so much for joining.
It's my pleasure.
Me on this. And I gotta find my outro, but I don't even know where to go. And I actually have to find it. There we go.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Jason, for joining us on TRU Beauty Confessions, an eco-parent podcast, where we do the dirty work to clean up our beauty vibe. If you like this content, subscribe or let us know what you want to know about. We want to hear from you. And for more info on moi, you can go to bee23.ca. And that's it. It's a wrap.
Or you can find her at the Wayland on Saturday nights. Just saying.